What's up, everybody? It is 7/16 Day in Western New York, July 16th, 2018. 2018 has been a fantastic year for me, myself, and I. I've done very, very well in terms of building this podcast, professionally, just personally. Everything is going really well for me. I have no complaints whatsoever. Maybe, there's things that, everyone would like to have. Would I like a Maserati? Would I like a mansion? Would I like a Bugatti? Maybe. Those are things that would check off the bucket list for me. But at the same time, I'm pretty content with where I'm at right now. And I want to dedicate this day, the 7/16 Day, to many people that have helped me along the way, that have joined me on this podcast, many people that have been positive reinforcement for me on this podcast, and really just make this podcast not so much about the Thomas take, what my take is on all things sports and the wide world of sports, and embracing sports talk, which is the mantra of this show and has been the mantra of this show since January of 2016. But the idea is to pay it forward and thank the majority of the people that I feel have really helped me grow in this role, whether they've given me, some positive reinforcement on the air, off the air, just throughout the last, almost 3 years as I approach the 3-year anniversary of the Thomas Take in January of 2019. And it's really alarming for me to put that into words, the fact that this is only 2 years old. I truly feel like this podcast has grown far greater than what I had envisioned within these last 2 years. And I'm not saying that's because of me. I'm saying that's because of you, the viewers, you, the listeners. There's plenty of room to grow. Each and every year I've looked to grow, and I'm not going to stop until this is where I want it to be. Wherever that ends up, I know that, fate says that if you continue to work on something, very, very hard, you will reap the reward for it. If you put the work in, if you put the time in, I've always believed that you will end up on the sunny side up. And that's what I'm going to do with this podcast. I'm going to continue to put out good, informative content for people to listen to, for people to tune into, for people to view on YouTube, Facebook, you name it, Twitter as well, at Thomas Takeover, by the way, and my Instagram at Thomas Take SP. I want people to start following me on there because I do enjoy interacting with the listeners and the viewers of this podcast. Want to start off by thanking first and foremost Samuel White, who has joined me on the show multiple times. Samuel's been a good buddy of mine for the last 3 years. We used to work together, a few years back, and he's joined me on the show. He's given me a lot of positive reinforcement, in phone calls, off the air, on the air. He's given me a lot of credit as being the real deal in his eyes, which is a huge compliment due to the fact that he is one of the most professional people that I've ever met. Sharp-dressed man, head to toe. Very, very classy. A very classy individual. Somebody that I highly admire and highly respect. So someone like him giving me the positive reinforcement that he gives me, I want to start off by thanking him. Want to start off by also thanking Lauren Lewis, who joined me on the show from Staff Buffalo. She is on the Western New York at Work radio show on 1520 a.m. ESPN, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, weekdays. I believe it's on Sundays as well. If I got that time slot wrong, I don't have this all out in front of me, so I apologize. If I do get anything wrong, I will correct it and edit it in the show later on in the description. But Stephanie Wilson as well. She is a very, very energetic, bubbly person, and I really enjoy that about her and her ability to cover sports and stuff. She's an avid Red Sox fan from Boston, Massachusetts, or a small town outside of Boston. Huge Bills fan. She really enjoys communicating with Bill's Mafia on Twitter, and I've really enjoyed talking to her, and I enjoyed having her on the show as well. Chad Denominix from the Die by the Blade website, which is a very great website that covers the Buffalo Sabres. I will be having him on the show as well this Wednesday at 8. Tom Wujek, who is a part of some of the most popular Facebook groups in the country that pertain to the Buffalo Sabres and the Buffalo Sabres KeyBank renovation plans. He is hard at work at that. I also want to thank my parents. I want to thank my dad, Dean Thomas. I want to thank my mom, Margaret Stoll, for the positive reinforcement that they have given me. My dad has always shown his support for me in this realm, giving me advice, giving me tips on what I should do, and maybe throwing out suggestions at what I should talk about. Sometimes I've listened to them, sometimes I haven't, but overall, it's really cool that they are so dialed into it and appreciate what I'm trying to build. I'd also like to thank my buddy Eric Ellis, who has joined me on the show a time or two. He has definitely bought into the Thomas Takes Sports podcast. I'd like to thank, who else? Grandstand Sports Network, the network that was run by Chad Denominix and Eric Turner. I'd like to thank Eric Turner as well of Cover One. He has done fantastic work. He's now working for The Athletic. And I know he's going to do his due diligence with The Athletic and put out really good content in regards to the Buffalo Bills. Mixed martial arts world, I'd like to thank Matt Perino, who is now moving back to Buffalo to join another good buddy of mine, Ryan Talbot of NewYorkUp.com. That is a fantastic site as well. They will be doing a lot of coverage of the Buffalo Bills, throughout the football season. Matt Perino, great guy, worked with the UFC for 4 years, is departing with UFC.com and moving on to the New York Upstate New York website, NewYorkUp.com it's called, with Ryan Talbot, who I also highly admire. Also like to thank the editor-in-chief of MyFantasySportsTalk.com, Daniel Schalk, good friend of mine. We agree to disagree sometimes. We agree to agree other times, but deep down we have mutual respect and admiration for one another. I can say that on my end, and I'm sure he'd say the same on his. I think he's a very talented individual, someone that has built a site from the ground up with fantastic writers, talented writers, all things sports, all things entertainment. Brandon Reed, Orlando Torres, and some of the other boys at the MyFantasySportsTalk.com site. Mainly, I've only worked with Brandon Reed, who is one of the best hosts that I've ever worked with on shows with, and I can name a few hosts that I've worked with on other shows, and Brandon Reed is the best. Really, really great. I do enjoy him very much as far as his hosting ability. And then Orlando Torres, a guy that writes very well in terms of his MMA articles on MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Dylan Davis Tornado, if I mispronounced your name, I apologize. But Dylan, avid Yankees fan, we have debated on Facebook a time or two. And in regards to the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry, I want to thank him as well for his enthusiasm towards my takes, whether he agrees or disagrees. Just the fact that he has taken the time out of his day to talk sports with me, I really appreciate it. And he's taken the time out of his day to tune into the Thomas Takes Sports podcast, as have I, with the Hat Trick podcast. So everybody tune into that. It is on the MyFantasySportsTalk.com page as well. You can add Dylan Davis Tornado on Facebook. He's posting it on there constantly. So, just everybody, from the bottom of my heart, on 716 Day, I want to thank everybody involved in helping me grow this podcast. Your contribution to the podcast is unmeasured. I cannot say enough in terms of people that are helping me out, in terms of sharing my stuff, liking my stuff, giving, positive reinforcement, whatever it might be. I just want to thank these people in particular for that very much. Onward and upward, the Thomas Take train will keep on rolling. I'm very excited for Wednesday's show. Chad Dynamics, and then the host of the Locked on Dolphins podcast, Wingfield NFL, at Wingfield NFL. He'll be joining me on the show on Sunday at 6:30. So Wednesdays and Sundays are the 2 days that the Thomas Take Sports Podcast is live on YouTube. And as always, I got good guests on. I got guests on that'll deliver. I won't be on the My Fantasy Podcast this week due to the guests that I'm having on my show at 8 on Wednesday. So tune in. I hope you enjoy it Wednesday at 8 and Sunday at 6:30. I'm Ryan Thomas, everybody. A 716 thank you from the voice of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care, everybody.